everyone, my name is Kaylie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay everybody, hello, how are you doing? Happy Saturday. I hope that you guys are having a good day and I hope that you had a good week. One quick thing, I am going to start shouting out some brands who have been gifting me products that I use in these videos, because without them I wouldn't be able to do the makeup looks that I do. Today I want to give a shout out to Kosas. I'm going to be using the lip products that they sent me in today's video. But other than that, let's continue with the high school horror story series. I'm going to bring you guys up close. There we go. Okay, so for those of you who may be new here, I'm going to do my quick usual little rundown. For most of the video, I will be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I'm doing. I do tell these story times in a first person point of view, so if you don't like that, then you can leave.
There's the door.
And these story times are sent in by anonymous people. Story time about my boyfriend who kept me a secret. Yeah, embarrassing. Okay, so a little background information. I was 17 and a junior in high school whenever the whole thing came crashing down, but we're gonna go back to my freshman year whenever I was 15. So during football season, my school would allow the girls to play in Powderpuff, and the freshmen would go against the sophomores and the juniors would go against the seniors. Now let me tell you guys a little bit about myself. I am very introverted, okay, both mentally and physically. The only friend that I had in school was this girl who we're gonna call Avery. And we weren't best friends. We were literally just acquaintances who would hang out because we had the same classes, or yeah, I don't know. Most of my friends were online friends that I had met on video games. Now, Avery had a lot of older friends, so she wanted to do Powderpuff, but there wasn't really anybody on the team that she knew. So she had begged me to do Powderpuff with her. Another thing about me, I stay inside all day and I play video games. I'm not athletic. But she literally begged me, like started crying, although I'm pretty sure that she was fake crying. But she started crying. I felt bad and I was like, all right, fine. Like I'll join, but like I'm not participating, like I'm not putting in like 100% effort into this shit. The most you're gonna get out me is a light jog around a track. And if I get tackled, I'm not playing anymore. So you know, those were my rules. Anyways, so Powderpuff practice was only 2 days a week. And we had a total of 6 practices before the big game, the only game. And the coaches of the Powderpuff practices were on the football team, but only junior and senior football players were allowed to be the coaches. Now, the first practice wasn't bad at all. It basically was just an hour and a half of everybody messing around. Avery and I just walked the track, and then the coaches called us all to the field, and we all were sitting crisscross in a circle around these 3 boys, 4 boys actually, and our coaches were demonstrating / trying to teach us plays and roles and just bullshit that I didn't care about. It was actually quite funny though. Like literally when I tell you guys we're all sitting crisscross and they're in the middle, 2 of them are standing on the sides and they're commentating while the other 2 boys are in the middle tackling and pretty much beating the shit out of each other. And they're saying things like, oh, that's a fumble. Oh, that's like illegal touching, da 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 da. Like, all right, buddy. Long story short, we didn't fucking learn anything, but I was fine coming to practice if that's all I had to do. So after practice, everybody got picked up and I was practically the only one still at school because I'm waiting for my grandma to come and pick me up. Finally, after an hour and a half of trying to reach her, I get a call from her and she tells me, oh, I fell down the stairs when I was coming to get you, so I'm at the hospital. And I'm like, that's just fucking great. So now I didn't have a ride home from Powderpuff. So I texted Avery and she thankfully found me a ride home, and one of our Powderpuff coaches, Josh, shows up. When I got in the car, I immediately regretted this, okay? Josh is one of the most hyper people I've ever met in my life. Like, he would not shut the fuck up. He kept trying to give me advice on how to be a better Powderpuff player. And he kept saying that we can't lose. He even starts talking about how if we need to cheat, then that's what we're gonna do. Like, bro, I do not care about the game enough to cheat. I really don't. Now eventually when I tell you, like, he would not shut up, he wouldn't stop. So I offer him to take a hit off my dab pen, which looking back probably wasn't the best idea considering how bad of a driver he was. But like, this kid actually needed to chill. That 15-minute drive felt like an hour drive. He didn't end up taking a hit off the dab pen, thankfully. If he would have, I don't know if I would have made it home, and that's just because he probably would have fell asleep. Not even actually, it might have just brought him to a nice calm level. I don't know. Anyway, so I text Avery whenever I got home. I'm like, thanks for finding me a ride. And then she texts me and she's like, oh, you're welcome. What did you think of Josh? And I'm like, listen, like, I appreciate him going out of his way to take me home, but next time I'll just walk home. And she was like surprised though, because apparently Josh told her that he really likes me and he thinks that I'm really funny. Here's the thing, people find me funny because of my plain demeanor, okay? Okay? And I guess the way that I say things without sugarcoating them. For example, when we were in the car, Josh asked me what I thought of his driving, and he wanted me to be honest. I told him, considering the fact that you're not looking at the road while we are having this conversation and you just knocked over 6 construction cones, I think you're a terrible driver and whoever gave you your license should be in jail. He thought this was hilarious. I didn't. I was being serious. Like, when I tell you guys, there's no way this kid didn't pay somebody to give him his license. He had to have. There's no way. Anyway, so finally, like a few hours later, my grandma got home from the hospital and she broke her foot, so she was not able to drive me to school anymore. Just a quick side note, I don't live with my grandma. Okay, the only reason why I'm staying with her is because my parents got married in early January of 2022, but the lady who booked their honeymoon, instead of booking it for after the wedding in January of 2022, she accidentally booked it for January of 2023. So they're on their honeymoon. They had to wait an entire year before they could actually go. They tried to rebook it, but the people at the hotel and shit were being stingy. Anyway, so yeah, that's that. My grandma, she lived outside of the school district, so there wasn't a bus that was able to come and pick me up and drop me off at her house. And if you guys are wondering why my grandma just didn't stay at my house, we offered, but she said that our backyard was not big enough for her 2 dogs. She literally has 2 fucking chihuahuas. Yeah, I don't know. So that's that. So after this happened, you know, call my mom, tell her, and then she goes and she calls the school, she explains what happened, and they allow me to do online school for the week. So they sent me all my assignments via email, and I was just doing my schoolwork electronically. Now, this all happened on a Tuesday. So now fast forward to Thursday, the next Powderpuff practice. Josh ends up asking Avery where I am, and she tells him about what happened. And that's when he decided to offer to drive me to and from school until my parents got back. So Avery texts me and tells me this, and initially I had said, I am fine doing online school this week, sorry, I'll make it to practice next week. And then she calls me and she low-key guilt trips me. Like, what the fuck? Again. Because I think she guilt tripped me the first time too. She did. Yeah, she did. Anyways, she goes, I promise I'll stop bringing up the fact that you never got me anything for my birthday if you do this. She didn't give me anything for my birthday either. I mean, all right, that's not true. She got me a cupcake from the vending machine, but like, bro, come on now. So anyways, I just said whatever, fuck it. I told my grandma, and the next day he drives to my house in the morning, but my grandma made him come inside because obviously she wants to know who's gonna be picking her granddaughter up and dropping her off from school every day. So then she gave him the whole, I hope you know that if she doesn't get to school, I'll get a call from the school, da 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 da. Y'all better not pull any funny business, especially you. And then she points at him and he's like, all right, grandma, promise, no funny business. And she's like, you better not. Like, okay, grandma. She said, fuck around and find out. Anyways, so you know, I walk out to the car and I go to get into the front seat. But whenever I open the door, there's this kid from our school whose name is David sitting in the front seat. And he just gives me a super dirty look and then grabs the car door and slams it shut. And I'm like, okay. Like, damn, buddy, I didn't see you in the fucking car. So now I'm just thinking to myself, great, not only do I have to deal with a kid who never shuts the fuck up, but I also now have to deal with some snotty, bratty, rich boy. My life just couldn't get any better. So I get in the back of the car and I put my headphones in, and I made sure to tuck my hair behind my ears so that way hopefully they wouldn't try to talk to me because they would realize I wouldn't hear them. But I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't completely uninterested in their conversation because like I had to listen. What if they were planning to do something fucking weird? Bro, I watched too many murder documentaries for this to end up how that shit always ends up, okay? I mean, actually, this is the start of one, me being in the car, but I had 911 on speed dial too. So you know what? Anyways, so I'm listening to their conversation and David is talking about all the girls that he slept with over the summer and how Josh needs to catch up. But then I got super uncomfortable whenever David starts talking about his experiences with the girls that he hooked up with, like just talking about how good they were in bed and stuff like that. But I got especially uncomfortable whenever he started like talking about Avery too, because I guess that they did shit together. Now, I think that he knew that I was listening because every time that he would say something like inappropriate, like extremely inappropriate, I would like, you know, kind of move in my seat and make some noise, like hoping that he would like shut the fuck up, but he didn't. So then I ended up turning my music all the way down because I was like, all right, like now they're whispering. So then I hear Josh say to David, bro, like chill, wait till we get to school. And he's like, what? Why? And Josh is like, because we have a girl in the car. And then David says, well, from what I heard, she's no Virgin Mary, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not the kind of person who's gonna let anybody disrespect me like that. So I took out my headphones, I look at Josh and I tell him to pull the car over. I said, pull the car over, you need to let me out right now. And then he tries like arguing with me saying, the GPS says that we only have like 7 more minutes, you know, like you're fine, you're fine. But I did not care. I told him again, I was like, let me out of this fucking car right now. That's whenever David said, see bro, I knew she was listening to our fucking conversation. Was it embarrassing that he called me out? Yeah, it was. But you know what would have been more embarrassing? If I stayed in that car while he was continuing to disrespect like I wasn't even there. Anyway, so finally Josh pulls over and he lets me out and I walk the rest of the way to school. And when I got to school, I told Avery about what happened, but I didn't tell her that David specifically said anything about her because I didn't want her to feel embarrassed or anything like that, because that's just flat out mean. So that day I make sure to call an Uber like 30 minutes before school ended, so that way I would only have to wait like 10 minutes after school to be picked up. Because listen, I live in a small town, okay? And do you know how hard it is to get a fucking Uber in a small town that isn't like 45 minutes away? It's really hard, really, really hard. And you have to hope that they don't cancel on you. So yeah, I called it 30 minutes early. So fast forward, while I'm in my Uber on the way home, Josh texted me and he's like, hey, sorry, running a little bit late. You still need me to drive you home, right? I wanted to ignore him, but I didn't want to make things awkward at Powderpuff practice. So I texted him and I'm like, hey, thanks for the offer, but I already got a ride home and I'm just gonna continue doing virtual learning the rest of the week. I'll see you at the next Powderpuff practice. Later that same day, David adds me on Snapchat. At first I'm thinking, oh great, what does this fuckface want from me? So he texts me and he's like, you went home early today? And I'm like a little bit weirded out because it's like, why do you care? Literally none of your business. But I responded and I said, no, I got an Uber home. And then he says, well, I hope it wasn't because of this morning or what I said. And then I text him and I'm like, no, if I'm being honest, you were just extremely annoying. And what you said in the car was just a reminder to me of why I don't like people. And he responded with, oh. And I just left him on red because like, what the fuck do I say to that? So then fast forward like 2-3 hours later, he then texted me again and he's like, so you don't have any friends? And at this point, I'm really fucking annoyed because who the fuck does this kid think he is? Like, what the fuck? You don't have any fucking friends, fucking bimbo. Anyways, so I texted him back and I don't know why, but I was kind of feeding into it. Usually I would just block someone, but yeah, I don't know why. Anyways, so I text him back and I said, I have friends, but I tend to be friends with people who aren't dickheads and who don't get on my nerves. And then he like tries to flirt with me. He's like, oh, so I get on your nerves? And I just don't respond. And then he goes and he's like, I know you like it. And I'm like, no. What the fuck? Anyways, so yeah, after that, I unadd him on Snapchat. And I'm gonna give you a little timeline real quick, okay? Josh drove me to school on Friday, January 6th. That's also the same day that David added me on Snapchat. And the next Powderpuff practice was scheduled for Tuesday, January 10th. Now, David wasn't a Powderpuff coach, so it's not like him and I had any class together or anything like that, but he did notice that I wasn't at school. I won't say that he was actively looking for me, because he probably wasn't, but I guess that he was just wondering why he didn't see me maybe where he usually would have saw me. Because on Tuesday after school, and by the way, my parents still aren't home yet, so I'm still at my grandma's, still doing virtual learning. Somehow he got my phone number from Avery. I'm not mad at her for giving it to him, but like, well, actually, yeah, I am, because I actually told her about what happened in the car and that I didn't like him. He probably like made up some lie about him wanting to like apologize or some bullshit. Probably not actually, because he's a dick. So then he texts me and he's like, damn, you really hate me that much you're not showing up to school anymore? Obviously, I'm surprised to get this message. I'm like, who the fuck is this? I knew who it was. So then I text him and I'm like, who is this? And he's like, it's David. And then I replied to his message earlier and I'm like, not everything is about you. And I purposely made it seem like I took offense to that message. And he could definitely tell, because he messaged me back right away being like, no, like, I'm sorry, you know, like, I didn't mean it like that, you know, are you okay? So I tell him it's fine, and listen, I'm not gonna go into every little detail about our conversations, because I would literally bore you to death. It was literally just small talk, but it was odd how persistent he was in trying to talk to me. Anyway, so fast forward to Monday, January 16th, I was finally able to go back home with my parents and go back to school. But the previous week, David and I had been talking nonstop. Like, we eventually started FaceTiming each other, and it wasn't just like whenever he was home or anything that we would FaceTime. We would FaceTime when he was out doing shit, or like when he was at work. But when I got back to school that Monday, he suddenly went ghost. Now, I didn't think much of this at first. I just thought, okay, well, he's probably like busy or something. Not that deep. However, after a full day on Monday and then a full day on Tuesday, like a Tuesday 10 p.m., when I still hadn't heard from him, I started to get worried that I hadn't heard from him. And I wasn't worried about his safety because I'd seen him during school Monday and Tuesday. I was worried about why he was avoiding me, I guess. Like, when I had saw him on Monday and Tuesday, I tried waving to him like in the hallway, and he just didn't acknowledge me at all. Didn't even look my way. Now, when something like this happens, it can really fuck with your mental, okay? Because all of a sudden you're wondering what you did wrong. Like, all of a sudden I'm running to the mirror in my bathroom and wondering if I did something the week that I was out to make myself look less attractive than when he first saw me. But here's another thing. I am not the type of girl to blow up a guy's phone. If David was trying to get a reaction out of me, he had a better chance of hitting the lottery and getting struck by lightning at the same fucking time. Anyway, so my only friend at school was Avery, like my only real in-person friend, but I didn't want to talk to her about the situation, especially because of the fact that her and David had hooked up in the past. That was definitely something I did not need to deal with, and I wasn't going to deal with. And listen, not that I'm not a girl's girl, but I don't have many female friends. And Avery and I weren't close enough for David to be off limits, especially since she had never even mentioned him to me before. Even whenever I brought up the fact that he was talking about, you know, him hooking up with all those girls, she didn't even say, oh yeah, I hooked up with him. Or did he say anything about me? So yeah, they didn't want to deal with the drama, so I kept it to myself. But then it started eating away at me. So then I end up trying to get some advice from my best friends online that I game with. It was a terrible idea. Everybody thinks that it's so fun being part of one of the guys until you're literally getting roasted every single day for no fucking reason. Most of my online friends were guys who had never even really talked to girls in real life, and they could be extremely harsh. So, you know, I tell them about it, and one of them responds with, obviously he saw you again and realized how ugly you are. And another one chimed in and they're like, he's probably right. I mean, that's why I only ever talk to you over mic, which was a lie because we all FaceTime whenever someone's mic is broken. Fucking dickhead. Now listen, even though I know that they were joking, it still hurt because David was the first boy that I actually kind of started to catch feelings for. And I know that it had only been a week. Trust me, I know. That's what I was telling myself also. But like I said earlier, that's what I get for being one of the guys. But after this, I just decided to leave it alone because I did not want to come off as some obsessed girl. Heck no. So fast forward a month, Josh had been texting me almost every single day. And he was nonstop sending me good morning texts and good night texts. While it was nice, it also kind of annoyed me because I really did not like this kid at all. Like, not even as a friend. Which, again, I know it sounds mean, but listen, I mentioned earlier, I do not like hyper people. They get on my nerves and they give me anxiety. And I also still haven't heard from David since I went back to school after being off that 1 week. Now fast forward to the summertime, around June 17th. By this point, I had kind of forgotten about the whole David situation, and Josh had asked me out probably 3 times between January and now. First time he asked me if I wanted to go to the movies. I told him no, I hate the movies. Second time he asked me if I wanted to go bowling with him and his friends. I said no, I hate people. Third time he asked me to go to prom with him, and at that point I just decided I need to be honest. Like, I was like, listen, Josh, you're a nice guy, but I don't like you. You give me anxiety and you're a terrible driver. Did I need to add that last part in there? No, but I needed to get the point across. Okay. So then he texts me back and he's like, thank you for being honest. And I'm like, period. Took that like a champ. Congratulations. Now anyways, let's get back to this week after summer started. Around 7:30 p.m. I get a call from David. I answer the phone and he's like, are you busy right now? I'm like, no. And he's like, oh, well, let's go get something to eat. Super weirded out. Like, what the fuck? You don't text or call me since January, and now all of a sudden you want to take me out to dinner. I mean, I can't sit here and act that weirded out because I did say yes. Anyways, so we met up at some restaurant that was close to my house, and we sat down, we ate together, and we ended up spending about like maybe 2.5 hours together. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually had a really good time. We had way more in common than I thought we did. Like, I knew that we were kind of similar whenever we talked that whole week, but like, it was insane. I felt like I was talking to a guy version of me. We both like to play video games. We shared similar views on politics and other things. So after dinner, we walked around the plaza near my house, and that's whenever I decided to ask him why he stopped talking to me. And he said, oh, well, you know, Josh told me that he liked you, so I didn't really want to get in between that. And I was like, oh, well, you know that I told him that I don't like him and I don't want to date him, right? And he's like, yeah, I just found that out. That's why I asked you to go out to eat tonight. After this, I was super giddy because like, it was like, okay, you just found this out and now you're like, you know, I don't know. I had butterflies and everything. I had never experienced the way that I felt in my life. So fast forward the next month, him and I are hanging out almost every single night. Now, the reason why we would hang out at night was because we both worked during the day, so it was just easier. But the one night we made plans to watch a movie at my house, and that night we ended up sleeping together. And it was my first time, and stuff like intimate stuff like that means a lot to me. Like, I take that stuff very seriously. So I think, well, actually, I know this made me grow even more of an attachment to him than I already had, because think about it, he's the first guy that I've ever talked to in person, you know, so there's already like a, you know, not extreme attachment, but you know, there's some sort of, you know, first time feeling there already. And then we had sex on top of it. So now there's like, you know, double fucking punch in the face. So fast forward to the end of July. He asks me to be his girlfriend. I say yes, obviously, because I love this kid. So now I'm thinking that everything is perfect. Like, I found my person. Like, I was happy. We were going on dates. He even introduced me to his family, and we would usually hang out at his brother's house because his brother had a spare room and in his apartment, and David was usually staying with his brother during the summertime. Well, fast forward, school starts. And it felt like a repeat of my first week back at school last year in January. You know, the week where he pretended like I didn't exist. Yeah, that one. Because once again, when I saw him in school, he would not acknowledge me and he would completely act like I did not exist. So that day after school, I confront him about it and I'm like, excuse me, why didn't you talk to me at all during school today? Also, this was like probably our first big fight. So then he goes and he says to me, well, like, he downplays it. He's like, what do you mean? It's the first day back at school. I was busy trying to find my classes and I haven't seen almost all my friends because I've been spending all of my summer with you. So I wanted to talk to them today. Is that not okay? So at this point, I'm feeling a little bit stupid. I mean, like, honestly, he could have waved at me or something, but like, I get it, you know, he was busy. He hadn't seen his friends. We have been spending way more time together. So at this point, I start feeling stupid and selfish because not everyone is like me, and I sometimes forget that my boyfriend actually has friends. So I kind of could understand his frustration and where he was coming from. So then I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm sorry. You're right.
Bruh.
I'm just super excited that we're in a relationship now and that we're gonna be seeing each other every day during school. Blah, 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 blah. And if I'm being honest, I've always fantasized about that like whole high school sweetheart romance story type of thing. So now that I finally have it, I'm super excited about it because I never thought that this is something that would happen to me. I just thought I wasn't one of those girls who was gonna get that. Anyway, so yeah, I apologized and I kind of gave him the rest of that week at school to hang out and catch up with his friends. But now I started to feel like I was getting used because after the first week of school, he still wasn't looking at me, talking to me, acknowledging that I existed or anything. But then when he would come over to my house or he would pick me up from my house and take me to his brother's or his parents, whatever the fuck. Well, no, he had actually got into a fight with his mom, so he was living with his brother at this point. But besides the point, when he would pick me up at 10:30 at night to hang out, he was all over me. And when I got my license, things got even worse. Before, at least, he made an effort to pick me up from my house, which made me feel like he genuinely wanted to see me, because somebody who doesn't want to see someone isn't just going to drive to their house at 10:30 at night, pick them up, and then drive them home at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Especially when you guys live like 20 minutes away from each other. But whenever I got my license, he starts asking me to come over at 11 o'clock at night. And of course I would go because I want to see my boyfriend. Not only that, but you know, he would always pick me up, so it was my turn to kind of, you know, pull my weight. But you know, then at 3 or 4 in the morning, he would be like, oh, like I think you need to go, you know, we only have a few hours before school starts and I want you to get at least a little bit of sleep. Like if that's really what you wanted, you wouldn't ask me to come over at 11 o'clock at night and you would actually want to hang out with me during the day. But thanks, babe. Thanks for caring. So sweet of you. This is what led to our second major argument. The fact that he only wanted to hang out with me in the middle of the night, making me feel like some like promiscuous girl, like some whore, not like his girlfriend. So then after we had this argument, he suggests that instead of me going home at 3 or 4 in the morning, I should just bring my stuff to his house so that way I could just get ready for school there and we could drive to school separately. Now this solved like 25% of that problem, but 75 of it was still the fact that I didn't like only seeing him at night. Like sometimes I would text him and be like, yeah, like I don't really feel like coming over tonight. And then he would guilt trip me. He would be like, whatever, bro, you had no problem coming over at night whenever I was picking you up, but now that you have to drive, it's a problem. I'll just see you this weekend. And that would upset me because he would literally say this like on a Monday night. So I literally would not see him until a week later, and then we would barely be talking on the phone too. It's just really hurtful, you know. Now the thing is it's like, it's not even like I'm being over dramatic because we weren't even seeing each other on weekends anymore. He was always either hanging out with his friends or he just wouldn't text or call me. Like half of the time I didn't even know what he was doing on the weekends. And this is where I fell victim to the, I don't want anyone to know that we're dating because I don't want anyone to ruin our relationship excuse, okay? Yeah. How did I fall for this? Well, let me fucking tell you. So the one day I'm in biology and I overhear these two girls talking about how Josh had asked them to go on a 2-man with him and no other than my boyfriend. Yep, of course. Now, I couldn't even be mad at these girls because the only person who knew that David and I were like actually dating, it was literally just his brother. And that's only because I would go, like, I don't even know if his parents still thought we were dating. Probably not. But yeah, so I couldn't even be mad at these girls. So I acted like everything was fine until I went over his house this night. And whenever I got there, I flipped the fuck out. I'm like, why the fuck am I hearing girls talking about Josh asking them to go on a 2-man with you and him? And then he's like, and if you don't know what a 2-man is, it's pretty much where 2 guys and 2 girls hang out and they pretty much hook up. Okay, that's what a 2-man is. Anyway, so yeah, I'm like, why, like what the fuck? What the actual fuck? And he's like, well, what did they say? And I was like, they said that Josh asked them to go on a 2-man with you and him. And he's like, well, did they say that we went? And I was like, no, but, and then he was like, he cut me off and he's like, exactly. So why are you freaking out?
Oh, hell no.
And then I'm like, listen, either you make things official or we're done. And he's like, how do I make things official? Like, we're already in a relationship. I was like, no. Like, we need to make it public now. Like, this is getting ridiculous. And he was like, he's like, can I be honest with you? And I'm like, sure, be honest, buddy. What is there to be honest about anymore? And he was like, well, do you remember when everybody made up those rumors about blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah? And I'm like, yes, what the fuck does that have to do with us? He's like, well, bro, I just don't want anybody fucking ruining our relationship like they did with them. He was like, you know, like, I love you and, you know, I love our relationship. Like, I don't ever want anything between us to happen. And he was like, and I just don't want to give anybody the chance to ruin it. So me, I'm like, aw, so sweet. And yeah, that's how I fucking fell for that. Fast forward to Thanksgiving break. Things between us were going even worse than they were before. He was becoming even more distant than he was before. And our routine had been no talking at school, FaceTiming for about 2 minutes after school, and then him texting me at 10 o'clock at night asking me to come over. No, I'm sorry, actually, let me fix that. At 9:30, he would text me asking what I'm doing. And then I would answer. And then at 11, he would finally respond back with Slide, my boyfriend. Yeah. But then this started becoming less frequent as well. Because instead of asking me to hang out every night, he was asking me like every 2 days. Like, we were honestly moving backwards. And the one night, to make things even worse, I come over with my bag packed and he's like, oh shit, you can't sleep over tonight. He was like, my brother has a new girlfriend and she works overnight and she doesn't like girls spending the night at his house. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. I don't have any problem with that because, you know, like, this is your brother's house, so I'm gonna be respectful. But then next time I went over a few days later and he had kind of told me that she only comes over from like Thursday to Sunday. So I went to his house on a Monday night and I brought my bag. And when I walk in the door, he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, why do you have your bag with you? And I'm like, because I was gonna sleep over. And he's like, bro, he was like, I told you, you can't be doing this anymore. And I asked why, and he was like, do I have to repeat myself again? Like, my brother's girlfriend doesn't want you here. And I like tried explaining that. He explained to me and he's like, no, he's like, you gotta go. He was like, I don't got time to argue with you tonight. I gotta be up early tomorrow. And then he kicked me out of his fucking house. Yeah, he kicked me out of his fucking house. To say that I was bothered would be a complete understatement, because there I was at midnight driving myself home, bawling my eyes out. If I'm being honest, I felt so ashamed of myself for letting him treat me like that. It's just crazy how somebody can tell you that they love you and then treat you like that out of nowhere. So after that whole ordeal, I got home. After getting myself into bed, I checked my phone and I got a Snapchat from him, which is weird because we only text each other, we never Snapchat each other. So what do? I open the Snapchat and it says, it's a picture of his face and it says, we need to break up. I can't do this with you anymore. All I do, well, that's the thing. So I clicked and I opened that one and then there's 2 more after it. The next one says, all I do is try and be the best boyfriend I can, but nothing I do is good enough for you. Click to the next one. You only ever ask to come over at night. And then when I ask you to make one small adjustment, you get mad, treating me like I'm a shitty person, even though I'm the one who's making an effort to see you. Here's the thing, the only reason why I would ever ask him to hang out at night is because that's when he told me the only time that we could hang out was at night. So now he's completely flipping shit on me. Manipulative as fuck. I was heartbroken, but I was also so fucking angry. I felt like he was mocking me. So I blew his fucking phone up. Like, I blew that shit up. But eventually, my messages stopped going through, my calls went straight to voicemail, and I realized he blocked me. I felt like I was gonna go clinically insane. Thank goodness this happened on a Friday, and I could just skip Friday and have the whole weekend to myself, because I don't know if I would have been able to go to school for the rest of the week if this happened on a fucking Monday and I would have had to see him all around school. So then fast forward, all day Saturday, I'm texting and calling him off of fucking Instagram, Snapchat, anything that I could think of, and I'm even using my parents' phone to call and text him. But then he blocked me on those as well. That's when I became convinced that he's been lying. There's no way that you just completely lose feelings for somebody like that. So at this point, I'm positive there has to be someone else. So I know this might sound crazy, but I did it. I took my dad's car to his house at 9 o'clock at night. I sat in the parking lot outside of the apartment complex waiting for him to get to his house. He pulls up to his house, he gets out the car, He goes to the passenger side, opens the door, and this girl steps out and he gives her a kiss and they walk inside the house together. It took everything in me not to go knock on his door and confront him right there, then and there. And here's the thing, he never closed the blinds in his room, so you could pretty much see almost everything that was going on in there. So I'm not gonna lie, I stayed there for about 30 minutes and broke my heart even more. Broke my own heart even more because I could just see them laughing and talking and watching TV, you know. He put on the show that him and I used to watch together. Yeah, and I had no idea who this girl was. I didn't even know that she went to my school until Monday. I pull up to school and I sit in the parking lot until he pulls up because I know what time he usually gets to school. So he pulls up, as I'm getting out of my car, I see him get out of his car and that girl get out of his car at the same time. This hurt even more because he never wanted to be seen with me at school, but this girl, he was willing to walk in with her holding hands. I found out like a day later that she's a new student. Literally her first day was the Thursday before all this happened, but he knew her because her parents had moved into the same apartment complex as his brother. So at this point, I didn't care about keeping our relationship a secret anymore. So I told everybody. Like, for example, you know, those girls, you know, for the 2-man or whatever, you know, they were saying, oh yeah, like David got a girlfriend, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, he and I dated this whole summer and he broke up with me literally just a few days ago. So I doubt that that shit's gonna last. After school that day, he unblocked me just to tell me to stop telling everybody that we were dating. He's like, I don't know why you're going around school spreading these rumors. We literally just hooked up over summer and then you dragged it into the school year. Please leave me alone and let me be happy. And then he starts going around school telling everybody that him and I never dated and that we were just friends with benefits and that I was some crazy obsessed girl that he tried to break things off with. And of course that looks true because I don't have any fucking friends. I do look like that person that's just like a psycho. And of course nobody believed that we were in a relationship because he asked me to be his girlfriend in person. We had all of our arguments about us being in a relationship in person. And when he broke up with me, it was over Snapchat. It's like he had this whole thing planned out perfectly. Okay, everybody, that is the end of today's story time. If you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button down below. And if you want to know how to send in your anonymous story time, or you want to send in your anonymous story time, click the links down below in the description. But other than that, I will see you guys next Saturday with a new story time.